Picture this. You're sitting comfortably on a plane, right? It's Christmas Eve, and you're heading home to celebrate with your family. The hum of the engines is steady, everyone is relaxing, and then, out of absolutely nowhere, that routine flight turns into a literal fight for survival. In this explainer, we're diving into one of the most astonishing, logic-defying survival stories in human history, the miracle of Juliane.
Boom! A blinding flash of lightning strikes the wing. The cabin literally rips open, the pressure drops in an instant, and a 17-year-old girl is sucked completely out into the freezing, violent open air. The plane is just gone, and she is entirely alone in the sky.
10,000. That's how many feet she starts falling. 10,000. To put that in perspective, that is roughly 2 miles straight down. No parachute, no nothing. Just hurtling directly into the dark, incredibly dangerous heart of the Amazon rainforest. I mean, it sounds completely impossible, right? Like something straight out of a nightmare.
So it brings us to the core question of our explainer today. How on earth did she survive? How does a teenager survive a 2-mile plunge from a disintegrating aircraft and then navigate the most unforgiving jungle on Earth completely alone? Let's break down the mechanics of this whole ordeal.
Part 1. Waking up free falling. Here is how the crash began.
Okay, let's go back to December 24th, 1971. Juliane and her mom are aboard Lanza Flight 508. The plane hits this massive, churning storm, and the turbulence is so severe that luggage is actually flying out of the overhead bins. But instead of turning back, the pilots make the fateful decision to just fly straight through it. At 21,000 feet, the lightning strikes, and the plane completely disintegrates. In the blink of an eye, Juliane is plummeting through the stormy sky. But here's the bizarre, kind of mind-blowing reality. She isn't just free-falling wildly on her own. She is still tightly strapped into her seat, seat 19F, while pieces of the plane break apart and scatter in the clouds all around her.
Part 2. The 3 Miracles. A perfect storm.
Honestly, how does someone walk away from a fall like that in seat 19F? Well, 3 distinct miracles basically acted as her parachute. First, the violent storm had these powerful updrafts that physically slowed down her rapid descent. Second, her attached row of seats started spinning rapidly, kind of like helicopter blades, creating just enough aerodynamic lift. And third, she plunged right into this dense canopy of thick vines and leaves. It acted like a giant mattress, cushioning her fall right before she hit the jungle floor.
So, when Juliane finally wakes up on Christmas morning covered in thick mud, the reality is pretty grim. Her physical state was terrible. A broken collarbone, a badly sprained knee, deep cuts, she lost her glasses, and was missing a shoe. But she had a massive survival advantage. She actually possessed invaluable zoological knowledge from living at her parents' jungle research station for 3 whole years.
Instead of giving in to blind panic, which, let's be honest, most of us would do, her mind locked onto a single golden rule her father had drilled into her. If you're lost in the jungle, find water and follow it. That simple piece of advice instantly gave her a concrete plan. It completely anchored her mind.
Part 3. The 11-day jungle trek, finding the river.
The fall was over, sure, but the true fight for survival had literally only just begun. But she didn't just wander randomly. She found a tiny spring, knowing that a spring eventually leads to a stream feeds into a river, and rivers are basically the highways of the jungle. Rivers lead directly to people. But walking requires energy, right? And her fuel supply was dangerously low. 30. For days, as she trekked through the sweltering heat, her only source of sustenance was a tiny bag containing exactly 30 candies that she had managed to scavenge from the wreckage. That's it. While surviving on literally just sugar, she had to navigate some terrifying threats up close. The conditions were absolutely horrific. She waded through waist-deep mud, carefully avoiding Goliath bird-eating spiders, which are the size of dinner plates, by the way, and steer clear of massive 8-foot-long alligators lurking in the waterways. Over the agonizing passage of time, things somehow got even worse. Day 1, waking up in the mud. By day 4, she faces absolute psychological horror, stumbling upon the tragic wreckage in the bodies of other passengers. Yet, she forces herself to keep moving. By day 10, completely exhausted, she finally spots what looks like a rescue boat. But getting to that point required surrendering entirely to her environment. Toward the end of her trek, Juliane became completely physically spent.
Too weak to take even one more step, she stopped walking and literally surrendered to the water, just drifting in the river current, letting it carry her battered body. Part 4. The gruesome rescue. A really desperate moment.
Okay, a bit of a warning here, because deep in the humid jungle, flies had landed on the open cuts on her arm and laid eggs. While she was walking, fighting for her life, maggots actually began hatching and moving inside her living flesh. She was facing a severe, life-threatening infection, utterly and completely alone.
Remember that number 30 from earlier? Well, it comes back in a much more gruesome way. Near the boat she found on day 10, there was a hut with a can of petrol. Channeling a memory of her father treating their infected dog, Juliane literally poured the burning petrol directly into her own open wound and painfully extracted exactly 30 maggots, one by one. Finally, on day 11, local woodsmen discovered her. Because she was so pale, covered in sores, and literally emerging from the river, they initially froze. They thought she was a mythical, ghostly water goddess. But reality quickly set in when she explained in Spanish that she was the survivor of the Lanza crash.
And this just underscores the absolute, undeniable miracle of her ordeal. Out of 92 people on board Lanza Flight 508, 91 perished. Juliana Kupka was the single, sole survivor to make it out alive. It's just incredible.
Part 5. Finding Your Own River. A Lesson in Resilience.
Today, Juliane is a world-renowned zoologist, continuing the exact same work in the Amazon that her parents started. Now, while we might not ever fall 10,000 feet from a disintegrating airplane, we all face some incredibly tough jungles in our daily lives. Her story brutally and beautifully illustrates that resilience often boils down to a very simple formula. Fiercely refuse to give up and just keep moving forward, step by step, toward your river.
If Juliane's mechanics of survival inspired you today, think about the tools you carry in your own mind. Her father's simple rule literally kept her alive. So, I want to pass a question over to you. What is the one piece of advice you've received that you think could save your life in an emergency? Drop it in the comments below, keep finding your river, and we'll see you in the next explainer.